Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Alright, today I'm going to talk about why I can't have kids and if I regret my decision. I will tell my cancer story in a different video, but when I was 13 months old, I was diagnosed with stage 4 neuroblastoma. I had to have, chemo, radiation, bone marrow transplant, everything, and countless surgeries. I've had countless surgeries since then. Anytime I asked when I was younger if they thought I'd ever be able to have kids, I could never really get a straight answer. It wasn't until I was an adult, in my early 20s, they said I would have to see a specialist before I even started trying because I'd be such high risk. That was tough to hear. It really was. So, a few years later, I had talked about it with my parents, talked about it with my grandma, and some other people that I was close to. And I decided, you know what? If it'd be such high risk, like they didn't know I would be able to carry to term or if I could even conceive to begin with. And after being through everything, I decided, okay, I love kids. I want kids, but maybe physically having my own isn't in the cards. That was tough. Tough to really, yeah, it wasn't an easy thought. I did a lot of praying, and I had done some research. I was diagnosed with endometriosis when I was 14, and I've had multiple surgeries for that. When I'm in my 40s, they want to do a hysterectomy because that's the only way to actually eradicate endometriosis, is if all of that is out. But they didn't want to do it yet because at the time when I had this done, I was 27. They're like, we don't want you menopausal when you're 27. So I was thinking about my other options, and I know that you can have your uterus taken out. Well, it was explained to me that just because your uterus is out, you still have ovaries, so the endometriosis is still gonna keep going. So I was like, I don't know what to do. So I saw my gynecologist here in town, and I said, like, look, I think I want to get my tubes tied because, with as risky as it would be, I don't want to ever end up accidentally pregnant. And like with all the surgeries and the scar tissue and just the scars and them stretching, I just I can't. And I decided, when I told him I wanted to get my tubes tied, he sent me to UVA. And the first thing they said was, "No, you're gonna want kids 10 years from now. You're gonna be so glad we didn't do it." And I'm like, but it's my body. Like, I know what I've been through. And they're like, no, we can try this and this. And I'm like, but it'd be really high risk, and I don't want to go through that. And hi, Kitty. And they said, well, we have really good high risk specialists. And I'm like, okay, but I don't want to do that. Well, we have mothers with active cancer who are pregnant. That's great. I'm happy for them, but that's not me. That's not my situation. So after bawling my eyes out because they didn't listen, I ended up going to VCU, which is in Richmond. And the first thing she said was, well, we don't tie tubes. I just completely take them out, which I didn't know that was a thing. So I thought about it more, and at the time, I had a godson who I found out a year and a half later was not actually my godson. And I also had been with a guy for 2.5 years, and we talked about building a house and moving his son in with us. So I'm like, okay, I'm a godmother and I'll be a kick-ass stepmom. That's awesome. So I'm like, if I can't physically have my own kids, I still got 2 other kids in my life. Well, neither of those people are in my life anymore. By the time of the surgery, they still were. So I got the surgery done. I was sore for like 3 days. It wasn't bad at all. I think she gave me 3 hydrocodone, and I took it the first day. I didn't even need it the second day. So I just stayed in bed for a couple days watching The Good Doctor, which is a really good show. I really need to get back into it. And before she did it, she said, "How do you know that you're not going to regret it? You're only 27. I said, "Well, I've thought about it, I've prayed about it, and I don't want to put my health in jeopardy over something that they don't even know if I can do. You know, I want to save myself the possible heartbreak." And she understood, you know, she said that's very valid. And, you know, looking back a few years, flash forward a few years later, do I regret it? Here's the thing. I went to a baby shower back in October of one of Skeleton King's best friends, and I got to feel her baby kick, which was really, really cool. I mean, I felt my sister's kick, but I was like 4 and 8 when that happened, so I didn't appreciate it as much. But I thought, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. And then afterwards, I bawled my eyes out. I'm like, I'll never have that. You know, I'll never have the, oh my gosh, we're pregnant post, and the morning sickness, like all the things that go along with pregnancy. Like, I know it's not all glorious, but I'll never get to do that. I'll never get to feel my baby kick. And a couple months later, after the baby was born, I got to hold her. And after I gave her back to the mom, I lost it. And Skeleton King put his arm around me. He said, you know, we can adopt. Like, it's not, I know it's not perfect, but we can still have kids. And right now we are not anywhere close to being able to adopt. Like, we don't live together yet, we're not married yet, we don't have a house yet. You know, we want all those things to happen before we do this. And, you know, we talked about fostering later on, which could be amazing. The only sad part is, you know, the main point of fostering is to either reunite with the biological parents, which is the goal, or find them a forever family. So there's the pros and cons. I mean, you get to help them during what could be the most difficult situation they've ever been in and help make it better. And, you know, sometimes you get really attached and you love them like they're your own, and then they get adopted. Now, with adoption, you know, that is a possibility, but it's so expensive. It's like $5,000 just to get your application looked at. And, you know, working the jobs that we have now, it's a pipe dream to adopt at this point. The other option, and we've had a couple friends offer to be a surrogate. Here's the thing. With my health history and some other stuff that's going on, I don't know if I'll be able to freeze my eggs. I've never asked because I'm afraid to know the answer. Because if the answer is yes, awesome. Now where am I going to get the thousands and thousands of dollars that it takes to, you know, harvest and freeze? And if they say no, I don't know what my reaction would be. I mean, I think I'd be crushed because, you know, Skeleton King would be such a great dad. I've seen him with kids. He's amazing with them. And I want to give that to him. And we want the experience of raising a child from birth. Yes, you can adopt newborns, which is an amazing, amazing thing. But it's just not the same. And to not go through that 9 months of anticipation and watching your body change and grow and hearing the heartbeat. You know, I'm not jealous, but I'm kind of disappointed that I'll never go through that. And you know, I worked at a daycare for a while. This was before my surgery. Had this been after my surgery, I don't think I could have handled it. But before my surgery, I worked at a daycare, and I worked with 6 weeks old up to 4 years old. And the newborns, yes, all they do is cry and shit, but they're so precious. They're adorable. It's so much fun watching them, you know, teaching them tummy time and watching them start to crawl and start to walk. And you know, they're little, they all have such big personalities for being so little. There was a 17-month-old. Her name was Lucille, and she would run up to me every time I walked in the room and throw her arms around my legs, and every time I left the room she would cry. She was, I don't want to say she was my favorite, but she was one of the most fun to work with and play with. And she would be 5 by now. Yeah, 5 or 6. It's sad because I don't know if I'll ever see her again. But I don't want to think about that. But yeah, I love kids. I think I'd be a good mom. Do I regret my decision? No, I don't. Because I know I did what's best for my body. You know, I know people who have miscarriages, and the heartbreak, I can't risk it. There's no way. And like I said, the thought of my scars stretching, that's like nails on a chalkboard right there. So yeah, if you're struggling with the same thing, or like you have any questions or whatever, my email is going to be linked down below. Feel free to send me a message. I might not always have the best advice, you know, just basing everything off of my own experience, but I'm always there to listen. Always. Alright, guys, thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you later.